The sun was sinking behind the skyline of San Francisco, painting the city in shades of red and gold. The Golden Gate Bridge glimmered in the dying light, unaware that soon it would tremble under the weight of a battle, unlike any the world had ever seen. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of salt water and smoke. And from deep beneath the waves, something ancient stirred. It began as a ripple, barely noticeable in the vast Pacific. But soon the ocean boiled with violent energy. Ships rocked as if caught in a storm. Though the skies were clear, a massive shadow moved beneath the surface, larger than any submarine, faster than any whale. Fishermen froze in terror as an enormous scaled tail broke the water, sending a tidal wave crashing toward the coast. The giant Komodo had awakened. It wasn't just a lizard. It was a prehistoric titan, a monstrous descendant of a species that had ruled the islands, long before humans ever existed. Now it was larger than a skyscraper, armored in thick, rock-like scales that gleamed under the fading sun. Its glowing amber eyes reflected hunger and fury. It had been disturbed by human activity in the Pacific trenches, nuclear testing, deep-sea drilling, the arrogance of mankind, and now it sought vengeance. The first blow came when it reached the coast. The creature's tail smashed into the docks, tearing ships apart like paper toys. Containers exploded, flames leapt skyward, and alarms began to scream throughout the bay. Helicopters rose into the air, circling the beast, their rotors struggling against the sudden gusts of wind caused by its movements. On the other side of the city, hidden within the dense forests of Skull Island's research facility, a different giant was preparing to move. King Kong had been kept under observation since the events that nearly destroyed the Hollow Earth entrance years ago. He had grown stronger, wiser, his fur now streaked with the scars of past battles. The scientists who studied him had learned to communicate through signals and sound frequencies. When the alerts came in, massive seismic readings, a kaiju approaching San Francisco, they knew only one creature could stop it. Dr. Emma Hayes, the lead biologist, stood on the command deck watching satellite footage of the destruction. "We don't have time to evacuate the whole city," she said. "If that thing keeps going, it'll reach downtown in less than an hour." "Then we wake him up," her assistant replied quietly. Moments later, deep beneath the Skull Island outpost, massive gates opened, revealing Kong chained but calm. His amber eyes met the scientists as if he understood the urgency. When they activated the transport drones, Kong didn't resist. He had fought beasts before, titans of fire and stone. But something in the air told him this would be different. The cargo aircraft lifted him over the ocean, the chains falling away midair as he roared into the wind. The world below blurred into a streak of blue and green. Then the coast appeared, black smoke, fire, chaos, and he saw his new enemy rising from the water. The giant Komodo bellowed, its roar echoing across the bay like thunder. Kong landed on Alcatraz Island, the ground cracking under his weight. He clenched his fists, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the monster approaching through the waves. For a moment, both titans studied each other. One represented the wild strength of land, the other, the cold fury of the sea. The first clash was seismic. Kong charged forward, leaping from the island to the bridge, his fists slamming into the Komodo's snout. The lizard reeled back, crashing into the bridge's support beams. Steel cables snapped like whips, sending cars and debris flying. The Komodo responded with a tail strike so powerful it sent Kong tumbling into the bay, waves surging high enough to flood the piers. Helicopters circled overhead, their lights cutting through the smoke. "They're destroying the bridge," one pilot shouted. "We need to pull back before—" His sentence ended in static as the Komodo's tail swatted the chopper out of the sky. Kong emerged from the water with a roar that shook the heavens. He grabbed a fallen tanker ship and hurled it like a spear, the massive vessel exploding on impact with the Komodo's scales. Fire and seawater mixed into a boiling mist. For the first time, the beast seemed hurt. It hissed, blood the color of tar oozing from a wound near its shoulder. The city watched in terror. Crowds ran through the streets as military vehicles blocked intersections. Buildings trembled with every impact. From her command center, Dr. Hayes shouted into her radio, "Get the energy cannon online. If we can lure the Komodo toward the docks, we might have a shot at taking it down." But Kong didn't need a plan. He relied on instinct. He leapt onto the Komodo's back, pounding its armored hide with both fists. Each strike echoed like thunder. The Komodo rolled, its claws tearing through the concrete piers. It opened its jaws, unleashing a jet of venom so corrosive it melted steel and glass alike. The acid splashed across Kong's arm, burning deep into his flesh. He howled in pain but refused to fall. Kong ripped a support beam from the bridge and swung it like a club, smashing the Komodo across the face. Teeth shattered. Blood sprayed. The creature roared, its tail whipping around, catching Kong across the chest and sending him crashing into a skyscraper. The building crumbled, dust billowing into the air. For a moment it looked like Kong might not rise, but he did. Through the smoke, his massive silhouette appeared again. Scarred, furious, unstoppable, he tore through the wreckage, grabbed a construction crane, and hurled it like a javelin. The crane pierced the Komodo's neck, staggering it backward into the bay. The water boiled around it, and the city's lights flickered from the power surges. The military launched missiles, but most exploded harmlessly against the creature's scales. Dr. Hayes realized the truth. It's not dying, it's adapting. The Komodo's body is adjusting to our weapons. Kong didn't wait. He dove back into the water, grappling the beast beneath the surface. The ocean churned as their silhouettes twisted and collided in the deep. Waves slammed against the shore. People on the beaches screamed as the ground quaked. Then, with a burst of steam and fury, both titans broke the surface again, locked in a death grip. Kong roared and slammed his fists into the Komodo's skull, but the creature's claws ripped across his chest, leaving deep gashes, blood mixed with seawater. The Komodo bit down on Kong's shoulder, shaking him violently. Kong reached up, grabbed a piece of broken ship hull, and jammed it between the monster's jaws, forcing them open. He then drove his elbow down, cracking the Komodo's lower jaw with a sound like splintering rock. The lizard shrieked, its venom spraying wildly into the air. The acid burned through the remains of the bridge and seared the water's surface, creating clouds of steam. Kong coughed, the poison stinging his skin, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he reached for the nearby power grid, high-voltage towers, lining the bay, and ripped out the cables. Electricity danced between his fingers. The scientists watching on satellite feed could barely believe what they were seeing. "He's using the power lines," Dr. Hayes whispered. "He's learning." Kong swung the live cables, wrapping them around the Komodo's neck. The electricity surged through both creatures, lighting up the night sky with blinding brilliance. The Komodo convulsed, its scales glowing orange as the current burned through its body. Kong gritted his teeth, holding on even as the voltage scorched him too. Finally, with one last roar, he yanked the cables tight and twisted, snapping the Komodo's spine. The creature's body went limp, crashing into the bay with a thunderous splash. The shockwave sent ripples across the entire harbor. Silence followed. Smoke drifted over the water, broken only by the hiss of steam and the distant wail of sirens. Kong stood among the wreckage, chest heaving, his fur singed, his body bleeding from a dozen wounds. He looked down at the defeated beast, then toward the city behind him. The people who had fled now stared from a distance, watching the giant who had saved them. Dr. Hayes whispered through her radio, "He did it." Kong let out one final roar, deep, defiant, echoing through the canyons of glass and steel. It was both a victory cry and a warning. The balance had been restored, but the world should never forget what lived beneath it. He turned toward the sea, limping slightly, and waded back into the waves. The ocean closed around him as the sun broke through the clouds, its light reflecting off the calm water that moments ago had been a battlefield. Hours later, rescue teams searched the ruins. They found fragments of the Komodo's scales floating on the surface, blackened, but still pulsing faintly with life. Scientists collected samples, warning that if one creature like it existed, there could be more. Dr. Hayes stood on the shore, staring out where Kong had disappeared. She spoke softly, almost to herself. "He's not just a monster. He's a guardian. The city owes him everything." Far beneath the waves, in the silent darkness of the ocean floor, Kong swam toward the horizon. His wounds began to heal, his heartbeat steady and strong. Somewhere in the depths, he could sense other presences, ancient titans still slumbering, waiting for their time to rise. But for now, peace had returned. The city rebuilt. The people remembered the giant who came from the island, who fought the beast from the sea, and who disappeared into legend. And though no one ever saw him again on the surface, sometimes on quiet nights when the fog rolled over the bay, fishermen swore they could hear a distant, echoing roar carried on the wind. A reminder that the balance between man and monster was fragile, that nature's wrath could return at any moment, and that somewhere out there King Kong still watched over them. The city lights twinkled across the calm waters of San Francisco Bay, unaware that beneath that peace lay the memories of a battle that had decided the fate of millions. The final battle for the city was over, but the legend of King Kong had only just begun.